Let's pick it. UD, you're up first. Who do you have winning the whole darn thing?
Dallas. I got Dallas winning. I think Dallas is deeper. You talk about they got Exum on the bench. They got Green coming off the bench.
I got the Mavs in 6.
Not a chance.
I like the Mavs. I said after, I think, Game 3 that I like the Mavs in 5, and I still like the Mavs in 5.
Mavericks in 6.
I'm going Mavs in 7.
Okay. Ooh.
I'm Mavs in 6 with you.
The ring ceremony for the Mavericks is going to be in Boston in Game 7.
Look, Boston fans are nervous right now.
If you're on that side, just stay on that side. That's all I gotta say.
Well, it's taken us 9 months to get here, but I think fans are finally realizing the Celtics team, they won 64 games with a top 3 defense, the best offense in the league. They might have a sliver of a chance, a tiny possibility, of winning an NBA championship. And unlike some teams in the past, this 24 Celtics team is a legit great team. Not one player carrying them, not a duo carrying them. This is a great team, 1 through 7. And when you contrast Boston's roster being so deep, so many creators, two-way players, and just really great shooters, to Dallas's roster, I mean, it's a pretty tough comparison. As outside of Luka and Kyrie, is there anyone on Dallas's roster who creates offense for themselves or for teammates? And the sad thing for Dallas, they had an all-time great run to the NBA Finals. And the duo of Kyrie and Luka, they got all the praise, all the credit, rightfully so. But when you play Boston, the style of two guys who are isocentric, they need the ball to be successful. It's tough to do that against Boston with Drew Holiday, Derek White, Tatum, Brown, even Al Horford, who can switch 1 through 5. And looking back at those Western Conference series, on the offensive end, there was always one guy who was a weak link that you kind of pick on and ignore on the court. In the first round, it was Zubac. Second round, it was Josh Giddey. In the West Finals, it was Gobert. For Boston, offensively and defensively, there's really no weak player you can pick on or say that's the guy we're attacking and exploiting as a matchup. And looking at Game 2 specifically, this game, it debunked all the narratives yet again. As what was one of the big-time critiques of Boston leading up to the NBA Finals? It's that they, quote, weren't battle-tested.
Boston, nobody's going to beat them right now. We understand. They haven't been battle-tested. I don't know if that's a good thing to get battle-tested in the finals. True. I don't know if you want to get battle-tested in the finals. Yeah. I don't know if you want to be battle-tested by Denver or Minnesota or one of those teams. That might be too late to get battle-tested.
The Eastern Conference and the injuries did the Celtics a disservice. Like, I don't think that they are ready for this difficulty jump that they're about to deal with.
Jaylen Brown and I know Jason Tatum have played really well in the finals, but when you look at the lineup of the teams they have had to go through, Luka and Kyrie have been tested getting out of the West and getting to this position.
Now, looking at the battle-tested narrative, Boston in Game 2, they were begging the Mavericks to take this game and tie the series 1-1. As Boston as a team, 10 made threes, the second worst of the playoffs. And from deep, 25.6%, the second worst percentage. The only game Boston was worse from 3, made less threes, was Game 2 versus Cleveland in Boston, which they lost. And to compound that bad shooting, Jaylen Brown in this game, 6 turnovers, the most of the postseason. Jason Tatum, 27% shooting, god-awful, his worst shooting performance of the postseason. And the bench outside of Porzingis only managed 5 points. If Boston hadn't been tested yet, this Game 2 would 100% a quote-unquote battle-tested moment. As despite them playing awful, really a C-, D+ game, Boston still won pretty comfortably. I hate to say it for Luka and Kyrie, but if Boston could be that bad in the first half, and the Luka-Kyrie duo would be so great, and you're still down by 3 points, I mean, this series, it's an uphill battle. And from a Celtics fan's perspective, these first 2 games, they've really been like C-, C+ games. As really to this point, they've had one great quarter, the first quarter of Game 1. The rest of that game, pretty average. Tonight in the first half, that was a D-, a D first half. And even the second half wasn't much better, maybe a B, a B+ at the best. Boston to this point hasn't played a full game start to finish and been great throughout. And still, they're up 2-0. And when talking about Millionaire's media talking points, what were we told 24/7 coming into this series? Is that Boston in the fourth quarter in the clutch moments, they're going to choke, and Luka and Kyrie are going to come through and steal those games.
I think Kyrie and Luka are just too clutch. And we know Tatum has had his struggles in the clutch.
Oh, here we go.
Even though the team has been good in the clutch, Tatum's had his struggles. I'm going with Dallas. I'm picking 6. I thought about 5.
Well, I'm on the record,
5.
Dallas and 5.
Don't act like if you're Boston, when Kyrie got that ball with 5 seconds, y'all are far more nervous than Dallas is when Jason Tatum's got it with 5 seconds to go.
Well, to this point, there's really been no highly competitive fourth quarter battles, iconic moments, or any clutch heroics on either side. And one thing in the postgame for Bob Myers that really caught my attention, he said Brad Stevens right now is the lead candidate for Finals MVP. And honestly, I mean, he's correct. As Boston in this series, numerous guys, numerous quarters, who beat you in a multitude of ways. In Game 1, that was the Porzingis first quarter game and the Jaylen Brown takeover in the second half. Game 2, this was the Drew Holiday, Derek White game. As those two guys in the fourth quarter, timely shots, great defensive play, and just, I can't say anything more about these two guys in the defensive backcourt of the Celtics. And if you want to talk standout games playing above your weight, Drew in this game, 26 points, 11 of 14 shooting. I mean, Drew to this point, he might be the Finals MVP. As looking at Boston's star players, none of those guys have popped off like Drew and played above and beyond their expectations. And look, I think I speak for all Boston when I say this. If Tatum shoots 30% the rest of the series, Jaylen has 10 turnovers per game, and Boston still wins, we'll take that in a heartbeat. For this team, again I stress team, winning is the goal. You gotta do it ugly, so be it. And speaking of ugly, again, Boston's first 2 games, they can improve drastically going forward. As looking at their points average, 106.0, down from 111 pre-finals. Shooting from the field, 46.4%, down from 48% versus the East. And worst of all from 3, down to 5 percentage points at 32.1%. Like I said earlier, Boston at this point hasn't played a full game start to finish where their shooting, their defense, and just their ball movement is all clicking. And that's the scary thing. Boston hasn't played great and they're still up 2-0. And one last thing I will say, coming into this series, I think on the Dallas side, people picking Dallas, it was a lot of emotion, feelings, and hope Dallas could win. But these first 2 games, just a cold hard reality shock that Boston, the much deeper team, more versatile team, that has way more options than just Kyrie and Luka. And if you pick Dallas to win in 5, Nick Wright, that obviously it can't happen. Even if you pick Dallas in 6, that means Boston now has to lose 4 straight games what they haven't done all season. And if they somehow drop Game 3, drop Game 4, Boston off losses is undefeated in these playoffs. And of course, 9 straight wins and undefeated on the road. Of course, a 2-0 deficit not the end of the world, we've seen crazier comebacks. But Boston at this point, in firm control of the series, and on the fast track for Banner 18. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.